Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to my hotel room in Budapest. Slight change of scenery today. Don't have any Chelsea flags or Chelsea shirts behind me. Today is the first video in a brand new series on the channel. I'm going to be starting a player comparison series where we take a Chelsea player, we compare them in terms of stats, I give my opinion, and you guys, as always with these videos, can carry on the discussion and conversation in the comments down below. Today, for episode number 1, I don't think there is any other place we can start than with Christian Pulisic, Chelsea's new boy, versus Nicolas Pepe, the man who said he wouldn't play for any other club in England but Chelsea. He's gone to Arsenal. So that in itself, make of it what you will, but Arsenal have got themselves a very good player, and I thought we would break it down statistically and also what they bring to the team, how they're going to start within their respective teams going forward into the new season. Who do I think is going to have the biggest impact? And of course, the conversation continues in the comments amongst yourselves. I'm going to have a little sip of my coffee. Air conditioning in hotel rooms, it's never good for you. Neither is copious amounts of caffeine, but I never listen to that advice. So before we get into any direct comparisons, we're going to take a little look at a player profile for Christian Pulisic. Christian Pulisic, we signed him from Dortmund. He's 20 years of age. He can't even legally have a beer in his native country of the United States of America right now. He turns 21 in September, and we signed him from Borussia Dortmund for £57.6 million. When we're talking about young players, when we're talking about talent, when we're using the word potential, which I've said before, I don't ever use the word potential anymore with a footballer who is over the age of 25. If we're still talking about potential from a player's quality and he's over the age of 25, it's no longer potential, it's just they're either that good. He's only just turned out from being a teenager. He's 20 years old. And Chelsea signed him for £57.6 million from Borussia Dortmund, a team that are always with Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. They've kind of missed out on too many occasions, but they're still up there. Dortmund are one of the best teams in the Bundesliga, and last season, Christian Pulisic contributed 4 goals and 4 assists to the Borussia Dortmund team, which equates to 0.4 goal contributions every single game. He only played 20 matches last season for Borussia Dortmund, and a lot of people have been saying that Christian Pulisic, the one thing that his game does lack is the final output. Football matches are won if you score more goals than the other team, and 0.4 contributions per game, although it's not the worst statistics in the world, it's something that Pulisic is definitely going to have to build upon if he is to be a huge success at Chelsea. Obviously, people are looking at Pulisic as a man to fill the boots of Eden Hazard. He's come out himself and said he's not here to fill Eden Hazard's boots. He's Christian Pulisic, he's his own person, and obviously he's also got the weight of an entire country, the United States, on his back right now. He's their best player, and he is the future of the USA, and considering they're hosting the World Cup after the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, Christian Pulisic has got a very bright future, not just for Chelsea, but for the United States as well. Let's move and take a look at a little player profile for Nicolas Pepe. Only ever play in England if he played for Chelsea. Nicolas Pepe is a self-confessed Chelsea fan, yet he's signed for one of our biggest rivals for £72 million. The man is 24 years of age, so he still fits within that bracket for me of when I talk about footballers with potential, that the player probably hasn't hit his peak of his career yet, and at 24 years old, he's got his best years ahead of him at Arsenal. For 72 million, it's a massive transfer fee. That isn't to say that the fee that was paid for Christian Pulisic wasn't huge as well. 57.6 million, it's not pocket change. But it's a massive fee for Arsenal, considering Arsenal supposedly, according to the media, only had £40 million to spend this summer. Not only have they almost doubled that in the single signing of Pepe, but they've also bought a few other players as well, so things are looking bright for Arsenal. Let's take a little look at the goal contributions and assist contributions from Nicolas Pepe. Last season for Lille, he played 38 matches. That is every single game in the French league. He scored 22 goals and 11 assists, which is double the total contributions per game of Christian Pulisic. It comes out as 0.87 goal contributions in every single game for Nicolas Pepe. The interesting thing with Pepe is there is a lot of players that don't always cut it against tougher opposition. It's easy to go and score a hat-trick against the team who's bottom of the league, getting absolutely whooped every single week. There were goals for Pepe last season against PSG, against Lyon, against Marseille. Say whatever you want about the French league, but not only does this guy bag them in against the smaller teams, he's also scoring in big games as well. If we're talking about the player's position, Christian Pulisic is more likely to start on the right of the midfield for Chelsea. If we're talking about a 4-2-3-1 formation, he's playing in front of that pivot. We like to use the word pivot on this channel. There's 2 in front of the defence. Pulisic is one of the 3 in front of those 2 in the midfield. Christian Pulisic can play at the number 10. He can probably play on the left. He's more likely to start on the right wing for Chelsea, which is why it's very interesting if we're comparing him to Nicolas Pepe, because although Pepe is a left-footed player, he likes to play on the right of the wing, or as the furthest forward. Arsenal paid the premium price for Nicolas Pepe because last season in the French league he was only second to Kylian Mbappe, and if you want to sign him you're looking at probably about £500 million, which is absolutely crazy. 72 million for Pepe. If he returns next season for Arsenal anywhere close to the return that he got last season for Lille in the Premier League, Arsenal are going to be considering that a bargain, as it's something they've been missing. They've got Aubameyang, they've got Lacazette. If they can add Pepe into that mix as well, converting 20 goals a season, Arsenal might not just be looking at challenging for the top 4, they could be outsiders for a little run at the title potentially. We're looking now at the 57.6 million that Chelsea spent on Christian Pulisic. The thing with Chelsea, you could maybe argue that Kepa was ever so slightly more pricey, although it's actually turning out to be a great signing for Chelsea. Chelsea are very good at negotiating for players. We don't always pay way above the odds than we should. 57.6 million, if we're talking about this word potential with Christian Pulisic, I think what he could bring to Chelsea, it could end up being a bargain in the long run. When we're talking about business and transfers and recouping the money, yes, when we look at 0.4 total goal contributions per game, it may not be that obvious right now that Pulisic can come in and do a job in terms of the work on the pitch right now for converting 20 goals a season. It's very unlikely that we can see Pulisic go from 8 goal contributions to 20, 25 contributions. It's obviously what he's going to be aiming for, but realistically, if we can look at 15 to 20, it's probably along the right kind of realm for Chelsea this season, as opposed to 25-30 from Christian Pulisic. He's not a striker. The one thing that Chelsea get though with Pulisic is the American pull in terms of business. He's an absolutely huge player in the United States, which means the revenue that Chelsea can be looking at from a huge market, which is the USA, Pulisic, his signing is probably going to end up paying for himself in terms of the development of Chelsea Football Club in North America. Everyone's excited about him. As I've already said, he's kind of carrying the weight of an entire country on his shoulders when it comes to footballing expectations. Right now in the US, there isn't anybody on the same level as Pulisic, and he wasn't just playing top flight football for Dortmund last season. He's been playing top flight football for Dortmund since he was about 16 years old, which is pretty incredible considering Dortmund are always playing in the Champions League. Last season he did score a Champions League goal, Christian Pulisic. He's got that to look forward to again for Chelsea this season. So even though he's 20 years old, we're not talking about someone who's going to be nervous performing on the biggest stage of them all. The same can also be said for Nicolas Pepe. In football, there are crazy transfer fees going around for players that have one good season in a decent European league. I'm not saying the French league is the best. It's far from the best. I can think of 4. Serie A, La Liga, the Bundesliga and the Premier League are all above the French league in terms of the quality of football and the quality of competition. But Nicolas Pepe wasn't just scoring goals and assists last season. He was also very good for Lille the season before. So at the age of 24 years old, they're getting a player that you could say is as good as a lot of current players who are at the top of their game in Europe in their prime, and the chances are the man from the Ivory Coast isn't even in the prime of his career right now. So from what we can understand, from what we've seen from both player profiles so far and a few early comparisons, both Chelsea and Arsenal have got themselves very exciting players for the near future. So in terms of where Christian Pulisic fits in for Chelsea, Frank Lampard is looking at a 4-2-3-1 formation as his number 1 formation, and as we've already established, Pulisic can play in any of those 3 positions behind the striker. I expect him to play on the right of those 3 behind the striker, with probably Ross Barkley in the middle, maybe Pedro on the left, Willian interchanging with Mason Mount. It can change around a lot for Chelsea, and then obviously you've got the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ruben Loftus-Cheek to come in as well. Do I think Christian Pulisic will maintain a starting place when those players come back from injury? It depends entirely on how he starts his Premier League career at Chelsea. From what we've seen in pre-season, there's a lot to get excited about with Christian Pulisic. He likes to run directly at defenders, he likes to get in behind, he also always looks to run to the byline and either get a shot in on goal or get a cross in, and I think under Frank Lampard he's going to play with a freedom which is definitely going to enable him to build upon that 0.4 total goal contributions per game that we saw last season at Borussia Dortmund. He's kind of had similar stats throughout the last few years. He's not really building as of yet, and at 20 years old, there's more than enough time for him to do so. As for Nicolas Pepe at Arsenal, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm very scared of Arsenal now. I did a load of graphics for my Premier League predictions that is going to be coming out in a few days' time, and I had Arsenal outside the top 4. And I'm not going to say exactly where I put them and where I'm now deciding to put them, but the signing of Pepe, Ceballos from Real Madrid, Tierney as well, I'm looking at Arsenal, and they'd maybe even bringing in Coutinho Coutinho on loan from Barcelona, which we're talking some stupid transfers now. For a 40 million supposed budget, Arsenal are punching way above their weight right now, but at the end of the day, Arsenal want to get back to the days of winning the Premier League. With the signings that Emery has got, Pepe in particular, I think Arsenal fans can be very excited as to the direction in which they're heading. A lot of Arsenal fans are still very disappointed and sad with their board and want them to leave, but when they're spending this kind of money, I think Arsenal fans are going to change their tune very quickly. There's a lot of good attacking players, and I expect Ceballos to fit in alongside Torreira in a similar 4-2-3-1 formation potentially for Unai Emery at Arsenal this season, the same as what Frank Lampard is going to be going with at Chelsea, which is why this whole comparison thing between these two players is very, very interesting. I expect Pepe to play on the right, Aubameyang on the left, probably Mesut Ozil in the middle. If Arsenal don't sell him, they've got to try and make the most out of him. They're paying him a redonkulous sum of money. And then you've got Lacazette as a striker. You could be potentially looking there at 3 different players who could contribute 20 goals per season, let alone the assists that can go between them, and also Mesut Ozil as well, where if he is playing up to his best, I won't say the word potential with Mesut Ozil, we're certainly not talking about that anymore. I, for one, have been very critical of Ozil at Arsenal. I think there's times where he's absolutely brilliant. There's also been times where he's played against Chelsea where he's been almost unplayable. When Mesut Ozil's on his game, he's a very, very good player. You could also say he's also world class on his day. So Mesut Ozil for Arsenal, if he can pull the strings in that midfield with Ceballos and Torreira playing behind him, I feel as though Arsenal can be in for a very good season, and Pepe is definitely that player that they needed that was missing going forward. The one thing with Arsenal though is defensively. It's one thing spending 72 million on a 22 goal a season striker in Nicolas Pepe, but defensively, I mean, we're still looking at Mustafi at right back. Hector Bellerin's going to be out with an ACL injury for a while. They've got Leno in goal as Pelisek is now back at his rightful home, and it's all still a little bit of a mess for Arsenal at the back. I think Rob Holding could have a good season for Arsenal, but other than that, their defence really doesn't excite me. As a Chelsea fan, it's quite exciting. But for Arsenal fans, I'd certainly be worried about what is going on defensively. If your club are going to spend all these money on attackers, there's certainly got to be some balance there in terms of reinvesting in the backline. As for Chelsea, I've spoken about Chelsea countless times on my channel this pre-season. There's an entire playlist if you want to go and flick through it, and I'm also going to be doing a breakdown of everything that we've seen in pre-season, looking at a 25-man squad moving forward in the coming days. I think Christian Pulisic for Chelsea, he's a player that loves to run at defenders. He can take players on, he's fast, he's always looking to get to the byline, as I've already said. And I feel as though with Chelsea, with ageing wingers such as Pedro and Willian, I definitely feel as though Pulisic, despite not having the same goal contributions that we've seen from Pepe, and he's not necessarily as much of a forward as Pepe probably is or was for Lille, the statistics absolutely soaring this season for Pulisic, and I'm very, very excited for what he can do. I definitely expect him to score more than 4 goals, and I think in this Chelsea team that plays some very nice attacking football from what we've seen at pre-season in times, I also feel as though the assist contribution is going to increase as well. We've just lost a huge outlay in Eden Hazard. He obviously scored a lot of goals, he got a lot of assists as well, and Pulisic is going to be needed to step up, not to fill the boots necessarily, but to actually add some serious contributions to Chelsea moving forward. This kind of video would be ever so slightly boring if I didn't give an outright verdict as to who I think is going to have the biggest impact at the club in question. And sadly, even though I'm a Chelsea fan and my optimism for Christian Pulisic is extremely high, I think we've got ourselves a fantastic player. 22 goals, 11 assists last season. Yes, if we're comparing the Bundesliga against Ligue 1, the Bundesliga is levels above, in my opinion, in terms of the quality of opposition. Pepe's got a bit more experience. He's 24 years old. He's got 4 years on Pulisic. And even though Pulisic has been playing at the top level for so long, and the fact that when we're looking at the goals and the assists, it's double the contribution of Pulisic, I'm going to have to say it, I feel as though Pepe is going to have a bigger impact in terms of pushing Arsenal forward than Pulisic is at Chelsea. And that isn't because I don't believe in Pulisic. Chelsea fans, don't get crazy at me right now. I just feel as though with these videos, if I'm doing these player comparisons, I need to be brutally honest, as well as using my Chelsea bias to look at things with a bit more perspective. I think 33 goal contributions from Pepe last season is flipping ridiculous, and Arsenal have got a very, very exciting player to look forward to. The only problem is he wanted to be at Chelsea, but we couldn't sign anyone, so just have that in the back of your mind when you're watching him. He wishes he was in blue. I'm just kidding. He's going to be a great signing for Arsenal, and I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at these two player profiles moving into the new season. I've got Pulisic in my fantasy team, which, by the way, if you haven't yet joined my fantasy team, I'll leave a link to that video at the end screen of this video. You can go and watch it, and you can also join my league. Nicolas Pepe, I feel as though he's going to be quite cheap in fantasy football as well, as it's his first season, and no one can be too sure as to what they can expect. But from what I've looked at in this video today, the things we talked about, the way they're going to fit into the different sides, both players are going to light up the Premier League next season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Who do you think is going to have a bigger impact? Pulisic at Chelsea or Nicolas Pepe at Arsenal? I know the majority of you are Chelsea fans on this channel, so I definitely expect an element of bias in there somewhere, and I'm sorry for anyone who's offended. I think Pulisic is going to be brilliant, don't get me wrong. I'm just expecting some serious immediate fireworks from Pepe alongside Aubameyang and Lacazette at Arsenal. I think it's a scary prospect, particularly in that race for the top four. Who's it going to be? I'm going to be posting my predictions video over the next couple of days, so keep that conversation going in the comments as well. Thank you for 22,000 subscribers. I will catch you in the next video. Let me know also in the comments who you think I should do the players comparison on next. I will catch you all later. Bye-bye.